CHAMPS Live is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. And the Detroit Medical Center. Do you have a sports injury or are just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of State Champs Live. So for the next 15 minutes and every Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., this is your home for everything relative to Michigan high school sports. I know that it seems like perhaps I've been locked in a padded cell with only an outlet to have my amusement with, but that's not it. My name is Lauren Plant, and in our upstairs office, like so many of us, sheltered at home for the next unforeseeable future. So we shall see what happens. Again, all State Champs Network programming is presented proudly by Lawrence Technological University. One of State Champs' longtime contributors is joining us on the inaugural show, and that is 247 Sports' Allen Trieu. Allen covers Midwest football recruiting for most of the Midwest, lives out on the west side of the state. Allen, how are you holding up being cooped up?
It's different. You know, I would probably be out at some football camp and some spring workouts if not for all of this, but making it, making the best of the situation, and happy to be able to still get on and talk to you about some football.
Absolutely. This is definitely a diversion that is much needed. I know so many of us are just dying without sports. So let's give them a little information about what's happening. And we thank you definitely for being here. Each show is going to be topic driven. We are live right now on all the State Champs social media platforms. I am going to be monitoring the chat on the State Champs Michigan Facebook page. So if you have a question for Allen regarding football recruiting, I'm going to save a couple of minutes at the end of the show. Topic number one, we have recruiting news, and that is relative to a big-time class of 2021 offensive tackle out of Detroit Country Day.
Yeah, Caleb Tiernan made his college decision recently, and he picked Northwestern, which may have surprised some because he could have stayed inside the state and gone to Michigan, where he's had some family members attend, and he was also down to Ohio State and Penn State, and those are the big boys in the Big Ten. But Northwestern has done this in the recent past. Last year, they came in and got Edwardsburg offensive tackle Josh Preby, and he similarly had offers to go just about anywhere he wanted inside the Big Ten, and a couple SEC offers as well. I think Caleb found a really good culture fit for him, found a really good academic fit for him, and a place where they can develop his considerable talents. I mean, 6'8", 270 pounds, played varsity basketball this past winter, played some defense for Country Day last season as well. So I think he really got along with Pat Fitzgerald, got along with the offensive line coach Kurt Anderson. And at the end of the day, childhood fandom didn't make too much of a difference when he was picking the best possible school for him.
Why do you think Northwestern in the end won out?
I think a combination of different things. I do think the academics was a huge part of it. I think the way he fit in with the coaching staff and the culture and some of the players that are there and in the class as well. And then when you go to that campus, and I've had a chance to go up there, when you see their new athletic facilities and some of the things they're doing there, the investment they're making in not just football, but athletics in general, when you combine that with what they already have academically, it's really hard to fault any kid for choosing to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. My nephew goes there. So, very familiar with the campus, and it's wonderful out there in the Chicago area. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take a moment to tell you about Lawrence Technological University. The university has so much to offer. They've been so great to us. It's still the best kept secret in the Midwest. I'm encouraging all families that can hear me to go to ltu.edu, see what I'm talking about. Cutting edge learning, small class sizes, incredible internship and networking opportunities, 26 varsity level NAIA sports. We are in a new world, people. Lawrence Tech will get you ready to become the leader you were created to be. So for questions or more information, contact the Office of Admissions at 248-204-3160, or simply just email admissions@ltu.edu. edu. We are joined on our first ever State Champs Live by Allen Trieu, 247 Sports. Topic number 2, Allen, relates to Michigan State football recruiting. The post-Mark D'Antonio era has officially begun. How are they doing?
Well, they're doing everything that they possibly can. They are recruiting at a very fast pace. They're in touch with a lot of kids, extending a lot of offers. I think if you're a new coaching staff, something like this shutdown, it stands to affect Michigan State more than any other school in the Big Ten. But they're not really looking at it as a negative. They're doing everything, like I said, that they can. They are conferencing with recruits. They've offered several guys here in the state who did not have offers previously from the Spartans. The most recent of which, Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Detroit Loyola. I think they're going to have a really strong chance with him. He said he grew up in a household of Michigan fans, but he was the only one rooting for Michigan State. So no, he's waited for this one for a long time. We'll see when he can actually get up to campus and meet those coaches. He hasn't had that same opportunity yet, but I do think Michigan State stands out to him right now. He's got Ole Miss, he's got Purdue, he's got some other offers. I think Michigan State's going to be a tough one to beat. Similarly, Ethan Boyd, who's from right there in East Lansing, a big offensive tackle, 6'7". He had not been offered yet by the previous staff. Coach Tucker and his staff got snuck Ethan onto campus just before the shutdown happened. So he has been up there and met the new coaches, including new offensive line coach Chris Kapilovich. So I think he's maybe a little bit further along in the process than Derek, just because he's been able to visit some schools. Played basketball, though, so he also hasn't had a chance to get out to a ton, but I think Michigan State's going to be tough to beat there. And then finally, Caleb Banks, Southfield A&T. I'm here in Michigan State, has climbed up the list for him. He also was able to visit campus just before everything got shut down. I think that visit really moved Michigan State into heavy contention for him. I know Kentucky's heavily involved with them. He has mentioned Purdue. He's mentioned even Arizona State. But those are the three guys in state right now that I think Michigan State is going to have a really, really good shot with. They're trying with everybody, though, from Donovan Edwards to Rayshon Benny to Jalen Reed. I mean, they're in on every top in-state guy. But the three I mentioned are the ones that I think really have Michigan State starting to trend up their list right now.
I am so fired up for football. I can't even tell you. This break has just, fueled the fire even more. So just hearing you talk about it, it's like I get like goosebumps. It's like I'm ready to go. Boy, I tell you, when we come out on the other side of this pandemic, and Alan, I know you know this, I believe we're going to appreciate things so much more. Like checking out a high school sports game. Maybe you've thought about becoming a referee. It's a great way to stay involved, make good side money, ensure that high school sports will never go away. The MHSAA needs you to step up and answer the call. Your first step is going to mhsaa.com/official. We need you. They will train you up, get you certified before you know it. The registration application period ends July 31st, so you have plenty of time. You can earn some great side money, right? We all need that. Become an official, and I'll see you at the game. All right, Allen Trieu is here from 247 Sports. Allen, our final topic, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you your take on how the shutdown has overall affected the school and kids with reference to recruiting.
Yeah, so starting with the schools, they're not going to have spring recruiting from the sounds of it unless something really changes around here. And that's normally the time period where college coaches can get out on the road, go into high schools, watch kids work out either in the school or in some cases outside. Schools would have workout days where they can see. And, in the state of Michigan, you had a lot of offers extended around that time last year. It really allows you to see how some of these guys progress. It also keeps those coaches from going to see them do other sports. I know a lot of coaches like to see some of these guys run track, or some of them who play baseball or lacrosse or whatever it is. You take away all of that. So it's changed it to where now everything for these coaches is done digitally. A lot of FaceTime, a lot of going through film on Huddle, but you're going to lose the live evaluation. And if we lose summer camps too, then you might lose them completely, depending on how they're going to be able to make that up. For the recruits, I think there's kind of three levels that you can fall into to how this affects you. So first, the guys who needed that live evaluation, those guys aren't going to get that. So especially the quarterbacks. If you look at a guy like Brendan Sullivan out of Davison, this was going to be his chance to throw in front of a lot of colleges. He picked up one Power 5 offer from Indiana just before all of this happened, but there were a lot of other schools that were interested in coming to see him throw. Now they're not going to get to do that. So when is the next time Brendan Sullivan gets to throw live for colleges? We don't know that yet. So I think quarterbacks are particularly affected by this shutdown. Then you have a tier of guys who has been recruited, has a lot of offers, but maybe hasn't had a chance to take a lot of visits. Andrell Anthony from East Lansing is one of those guys. He played basketball all winter. So even though he's got a good amount of offers, he hasn't had a chance to visit some of those schools. Wisconsin offered him, hasn't been out there. Penn State offered him. I don't believe he's been out there. He hasn't been in a long time. So for him, it creates a situation where he's not going to maybe be able to progress forward through his recruitment as much as he would have been able to if he could have gotten to some of these schools. The third level of that is a guy who's maybe been to some of these schools, but was still missing some pieces that he needed to see in the spring. Jamari Budden from Belleville is one of those guys. He had talked about recently how he wanted to get to some of these spring practices. He's got teammates at different places. Andre Selden was an early enrollee at Michigan. He's not going to be able to get up there and see how Andre's doing in terms of spring practice. He's looking at Michigan State. He's not going to get a chance to see the new coach's coach or see what their new defensive scheme looks like. And Jamari's considering moving his decision up. He had talked about waiting till December, but I think there's a lot of guys in his boat that have moved their decision timelines forward a little bit just because they don't know when they're going to be able to take official visits. They don't know when they're going to be able to take unofficial visits. They don't really know when they're going to get to see any of these coaches in person again. So in some cases, that's caused guys to say, hey, I'm going to wait it out longer. And it's also caused others to say, hey, maybe I should lock up my spot while I still can. And Jamari might end up being one of those guys. I think he's going to end up committing maybe a little bit sooner than he would have liked to.
I'll tell you, if anything, it's interesting, right, Allen? I mean, it's going to keep you busy. You'll have to figure out new ways. Maybe you'll play an even more important role now in what you do. We appreciate you being here. One of the longest partners of the State Champs Sports Network, guys, is our friends at Hungry Howie's. Forget your dinner plans tonight. Let Hungry Howie's hook you up. They're open for business. You can order online. In fact, they have a mix and match deal right now. So if you want a delicious sub, salad, Howie bread, or the crazy good Howie's pizza-sized cookie, mix and match any two items for $5.99 each. The home of the flavored crust. Support high school sports. Go to hungryhowies.com. Dinner is covered. All right, we're going to take time here before we go to answer a few questions that we got on Facebook, and we do have a couple for you, Allen. And the first one came from Perry Simon, and he wants to know, do you think Damon Payne out of Belleville will end up at Michigan?
Right now, I think Damon's going to leave the state. I don't know where that's going to be yet. I have a hard time seeing Michigan or Michigan State ending up landing him. I think he's at least kind of opened it up with some of those schools a little bit more, and both staffs are trying. But right now, I think he's gonna end up leaving. I know some have talked about Ohio State, some have talked about Florida State. I think he's still got to figure some things out. But right now, I would think he's going to end up playing outside of the state of Michigan in college.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys giving him lots and lots of looks, lots of love. We also have a question that came off of Twitter, Allen. The NCAA extended eligibility for spring athletes. How is that going to affect seniors and juniors?
I think it remains to be seen how they're going to navigate this situation with scholarships. If, you're able to, a lot of the college seniors are going to be able to get their year back. Then how does that work when you have a new class of guys who are going to sign and come in next year? So they're going to have to probably play with the scholarship numbers and potentially raise that 85 limit. So I don't think we know yet, but my guess is that they're going to have to make an exception on the limit for at least that year.
Okay. All right. Very well. All right. Right now, it's time for our MHSAA Clip of the Day.
Time now for the MHSAA Clip of the Day. The Heartland girls basketball team representing, and they got skills. And that's your MHSAA Clip of the Day.
All right, and if you have video of your teammates doing some sort of sporting activity at home, We found a few of them out there, but you too can have your clip be the MHSA clip of the day. Connect with us and we'll check it out. All right, I want to thank 247 Sports Allen Trieu for joining us today on the very first episode of State Champs Live. Allen, how can our audience follow you and get all that great insider knowledge when it comes to football recruiting?
Well, on Twitter, at Allen Trieu, ALLENTRIEU. Also post frequently on 247 Sports. That's where all of our articles and message board posts are. And then in the Detroit News twice a week. But mostly on Twitter, and 247 is where I think you can find me best.
Are you guys still doing the podcast?
We are, yep. The Notorious B1G podcast with Steve Wiltfong and myself. We do that every week, where we talk about the Big Ten, hence that play on words. So still doing that. You know, there's no live sports right now, but recruiting is still continuing. So we kind of feel like we're a little bit of the only game in town at the moment.
Right, I know. And how about your stand-up comedy career?
I did release an album earlier in the spring on iTunes. It's called A Cry for Help. You can look for that. It is not safe for work, but everybody's working from home anyway. So just keep it out of earshot of your kids, and get on there. It's on iTunes and Apple Music.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. Real quick, guys. Hey, we have a fantastic partner in the Detroit Medical Center. Now, we can't say enough about what our medical heroes are doing right now to save lives. We also can't say enough about the desire to make you the best athlete you can be. Check out our DMC Game Changer segments each week on the State Champs app and all our social media platforms. This week's segment is about breathing. Trust me, you're not doing it right, and it's affecting your performance. What am I talking about? Make sure that you go check it out. Now, we understand that Governor Whitmer is going to announce whether there will be a remainder of the 2019-2020 school year tomorrow. The executive director of the MHSAA, Mark Ewell, will join me tomorrow here for his perspective and the MHSAA's perspective on a plan moving forward. So please join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's the end of the show. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next time on State Champs Live.
State Champs Live is presented by Lawrence Technological University, where Blue Devils dare. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. And the Detroit Medical Center. Do you have a sports injury or are just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers.